gets hungry for dinner at 8. She loves the theater and never comes late. She never bothers with people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Double T podcast. I am your humble host, Double T, wishing you all a very happy day. Well, folks, we're right at the precipice of what seems to be the never-ending campaign. And I'm sure you are as glad as I am that all the text messaging and all the emails will finally cease. But be that as it may, I want to talk about something that will lead us into my synopsis of the election. And I want to talk about relationships. Everything in life is about relationships. It doesn't matter whether you sell steak knives, salt shakers, nuclear reactors, or laser beams. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a fry cook. You have to understand that relationships negotiate your entire life. You choose doctors, you choose lawyers, you choose eye doctors, you choose auto mechanics, and you find ones that you like. And listen, I have found great doctors that I liked personally but didn't like medically and went someplace else. But when you find somebody that you like on a personal and professional level, you stay there, and that's the relationship. And that's why you support their business. It's no different with politics. It's how a candidate connects with their voters. And as we wind down to Election Day, let's take a little bit of a review about how our candidates connected. Let me talk about Vice President Harris first. Vice President Harris is the most boring candidate for a major political office that I have ever seen in my entire life. She couldn't engage a fruit fly. One man's opinion. Okay, people aspire to be people. You know, some people aspire to be John F. Kennedy. Some people aspire to be Ronald Reagan. Some people aspire, to be, Neil Armstrong. And people have goals to be like these people. I don't see where she has goals to be like anyone, because there is no one like Kamala Harris. She made a few mistakes along the way, because if this woman is not on script, she can unravel very easily. Example, on The View, the question was asked to her by Sonny Halstead, I believe, or Halstein. Would you have done anything differently over the past 4 years that President Biden and you have done? And she stopped and paused and said, nothing that comes to mind. And, Trump pounced all over that. you're trying to talk about a fresh start, turning the page, and we're turning the page from you. You're the one that's been in office for the last 4 years. You can't blame everything on the last guy. Okay? When she went on Fox with Brett Baer, he actually gave her a second chance to answer that question. And he brought up that response, and she said, "Let me be clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency." Now, wait a minute. You wouldn't have done anything differently. You were involved in every decision. You were the last one out of the room. But yet your presidency is not going to be a continuation of this successful presidency of Joe Biden's? Help me out, because I'm not following. At a rally in Michigan, the crowd was going crazy, chanting her name. Kamala, Kamala, going crazy. And what does she do? She introduces a cringeworthy moment where she silences the crowd by saying, "Cheer your names." Complete silence. I mean, that crowd was in the moment for her, whether they were a paid crowd or not, I do not know. But, come on. At one rally, she said she was committing to protecting people who harm us. And then just had to know what she said and just didn't stop, pause, and correct herself. But and Biden has been a tremendous help to Kamala. He's been an absolute tremendous help. She was in, I want to say, North Carolina doing a rally, and she was going to make some big announcement. I think it was jobs numbers, if I'm not mistaken. And trust me when I tell you, these offices know to the second when they're going to hit the air, when things are going to happen. So, say she was going to go on at 12:02. Joe Biden walks into the White House press corps briefing room. He hasn't been in that room a single day of his presidency. And he walks into the press briefing room, walks up to the podium and says, "Hi, I'm Joe Biden." And everybody, of course, got a quick laugh. But the key thing is, when the president is about to speak to reporters, to the public, what does the mainstream media do? They flip to the president. So they flipped to Biden. And Harris made her speech, but it wasn't televised. So I started to wonder to myself, Joe's with it, Joe's not with it. The word sabotage came to my mind. Then, okay, Trump had a rally at Madison Square Garden last week, and he had a comedian. He goes by Kill Tony. I forget his last name. He's an insult comic. And I'll be very honest with you. He's phenomenal, but maybe a political rally is not the right place for him. But that's where they put him. And He made a comment about a floating island of garbage out in the ocean, and he goes, "Oh no, that's just Puerto Rico." And it kind of got mixed reactions and more toward the negative. And he goes, "Oh, okay, all right. I see you're not ready for that." And the next night, Kamala was giving her campaign synopsis speech on the front lawn of the White House. And Biden got somebody to set him up on an iPad. I guess he was on some kind of I don't know, he was on some kind of a call or something, but somehow this got broadcast when he turned around and said something. I'm going to paraphrase this, but I'm going to be pretty accurate in the paraphrasing. He said, "I come from the state of Delaware, and we're all nice people in Delaware." He says, "And the people of Puerto Rico are also very nice, and they're not garbage. And the only garbage I see floating out there on an island are his supporters," which was Trump supporters. Now, you can't. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, I have always been a proponent of celebrities should keep their mouths shut. Singers should sing, actors should act, and athletes should play their sport and they should shut up. Okay? Athletics, entertainment, and athletics and entertainment have no place in politics. And quite honestly, who really gives a rat's ass about George Clooney and what George Clooney thinks? He's an entitled little prick. All right? And he's never had to work for anything a day in his life. You know, these people in Hollywood live a life that we can't even fathom. And it's all coming out now with the Diddy stuff, and you know, it's all coming out, and it's going to destroy a lot of people, and as well as it should, because they're no better than anybody else. But reason why I say that is everybody's entitled to their opinion. But when you're Travis Kelce from the Kansas City Chiefs and you go out and say, "I like whoever you like," you alienate half of your fan base. When you're any celebrity of any stature and you go out and, you know, I'm supporting, you alienate half of your fan base. So don't alienate anybody. Keep your mouth shut. Now, I do a political talk show, and it's a conservative talk show. What I like to call common sense conservative. Now, if I see something wrong on the right, I'm going to call it out, because I don't believe anybody should get a free pass. With Trump, this campaign, this 2024 campaign is much different for Trump. His ugliest impulses were regulated. They were curbed by his top aides and advisors, a much better group of people than he has had in the past. The first two campaigns, I mean, the guardrails were set up to derail missteps, and they seem for the most part to have worked. But lately, Trump seems to be a little bored. He doesn't appreciate normalcy, and he doesn't like to be babysat or told what to do. But overall, this has been a very disciplined campaign within the Trump camp. I mean, this guy is like an Iron Man. He does 2 to 3 rallies a day. He does interviews all the time, town halls, and let's not forget him being tied up in court for the first part of the campaign. But when he was done with court, he was going to visit bodegas, firehouses, police stations, construction sites, relationships. That's why Trump's been successful in his short political career, is because he connects with people. The McDonald's thing was brilliant. Okay? And everybody's screaming, well, that was staged. Of course it was staged. But he went in there. He learned how to fry a basket of fries, flip it over, put the salt on it, untouched by human hands, nice and clean. I like that. Then he went out and he was handing food out the window. Now, he bought all the food. And then he gave a press conference out the drive-through window of McDonald's with a McDonald's apron on. I mean, how beautiful is that in Pennsylvania, the state that they need the most? Kamala has 5 stops in Pennsylvania today. That's how important Pennsylvania is. And then, if that wasn't good enough for anybody, after Biden made the garbage comment, what do you see the next day? Trump pulling up in a big white garbage truck that said Trump Vance 2024. And he had the orange vest on. But this is Donald Trump. Donald Trump, you say what you want, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. But where did Donald Trump learn all of this? He worked on construction sites. He talked to the builders, the electricians, the iron workers. That's how he became this guy. He did an interview with, I don't know if you've ever watched Gutfeld on Fox. It's the only show that I watch on Fox because I love Greg Gutfeld. And there's a guy that's on Gutfeld's show every night on the panel. His name is Tyrus. And he used to be, he does some stand-up comedy. He used to be WWE champion. He was a wrestling champion. I don't know if it was WWE or I'm not exactly sure, but he's a big guy, got a nice big beard, and but he's very funny. He did a sit down interview with Trump, And he very honestly looked at Trump and said, I have to be honest with you, Mr. President. I didn't like you at first. It was just a perception, he says, but I remember the day I met you. He said, and, we were, whatever event or crowd they were at. He says, and I was just kind of watching things, and I watched you have a 10-minute conversation with my little daughter. Little, tight, little toddler, maybe a little older than a toddler. And he said, you talked to her and you asked her about her dreams and her goals, and, you just had this amazing conversation with her, and it really showed me something about you, and it shows me that you're a family man and that you care about people. And that's the one thing and the one takeaway that I get from Trump. Yeah. Sometimes he gets a little unhinged. Sometimes he goes a little off the wall. But you have not seen that in this campaign. You have not seen that. All right. So I'm going to make a prediction. And I don't think I'm going to be wrong. But I think that Trump is going to win an electoral landslide. I think he will win the popular vote. I think he will flip the Senate, and I think he will gain seats in the House. That is how unrelatable Kamala Harris is. If I'm wrong, I will humbly eat crow. But I don't think I am. Trump offers people hope. And you're going to see that. So, folks, remember that tomorrow is granted to no one. So take an opportunity and stop and smell the roses. They smell wonderful. And if you have an opportunity to do a random act of kindness for anyone, please take that opportunity. For if everybody took an opportunity to do a random act of kindness for someone, the world would be a much better place to live. So, my friends, make sure you get out and vote. And until we meet again, this is Double T saying ciao, ciao.